this is what we've been waiting for, is to get this opportunity to play for this state championship. And now we're here. But he's had a couple big runs this season for us. But it was a great job at the point of attack of our offensive line.
Franchini, play fake, looking, going deep. Tyson's open, pitch and catch, touchdown.
Right now, it's whatever it takes.
This is the Chuck Smith Show on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Now, here's Coach Smith and your host, Nick Kosko.
It's the Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Kosko. With me every week is Mainland head coach Chuck Smith. Coach, fresh off another victory, guys, just keep rolling along here. South Jersey Group 3 title now going to be going up in the stadium for the year of 2024. 42-14 win over Seneca, third straight sectional title, now a state semifinal date with undefeated Somerville on Friday night. So first of all, congratulations on yet another sectional title. But as you have told me pretty much all year and dating back to last year, just another box checked off, on to the next one.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick. Really appreciate it. It was one of the early goals of this team that they put forth to get to the sectional finals and win a sectional title again. And we've been fortunate to win 3 in a row. Mainland hasn't done that since 95, 96, 97. So it was really nice to join those teams as an elite company in our school's history with football. And the boys did it. And now we move, like you said, we checked that box. Everybody enjoyed it that night. And then we're moving on now.
Without a doubt. So before we dive into Somerville, because they were the number 1 overall seed in South Jersey Group 3, so pretty much almost an expected matchup based on your guys' pedigree and, of course, what they did all season. This game was very interesting with Seneca because they upset number 1 Hopewell Valley within your sectional bracket. Again, they bounced back after a tough loss to that same team earlier in the year and gave you guys a bit of a fight in that first half. You know, it was 7-7, but you guys responded after they scored and just eventually ran away. How did you see the game unfold early on, where it was just like arguably the first round playoff game where they were giving you a battle within the first quarter and a half, roughly?
Yeah, we expected Seneca to be a tough team. You know, they won 3 very close games in the playoffs. The quarterback's a great athlete. You know, they had some speed back there, some size up front. And, we got off to a good start. And then, they battled, like we expect in that kind of game, a championship game, you expect to see everybody's best. And they came right down the field and scored. And it was a battle there for a while, in that first quarter going into the second, And but the kids, adapted. We made some adjustments on the fly, and the kids executed perfectly.
The Young Bucks really stepped up. Lucas DiBiaso, Dylan Granzow, sophomore and freshman, respectively, out of your backfield. Obviously, they can catch the ball as well, which they're basically doing both roles on Friday night. What can you say about the young guys really stepping up on Friday night? As John Franchini's going to step up, junior quarterback. Rocco DiBiaso is your bell cow right now. And, of course, all of your experienced guys on the offensive and defensive lines and basically that front seven as well. What do you make of Lucas and Dylan really stepping up on Friday?
Yeah, I can't say enough about those guys. They're really starting to come into their own now at this point in the season. Lucas being a sophomore and Dylan being a freshman, both starting pretty much the whole year at their positions on the offense. And, that they arguably have the hardest position besides the quarterback in our offense because of the amount of blocking we do, the different blocking techniques we have, the route running, and then you have to add in the run game. And, it took them a little bit to get going. Lucas has had some more flashes earlier on, but Dylan's really started to get his feet under him. And has the potential to be a really special back. And the same with Lucas. Lucas is just one heck of a football player, just tough, gritty. You could say to Lucas, hey, I need you to run through that cinder block wall, and he won't even ask you why. He'll just do it, and he does 100% effort. And fun kids to coach. They're both very good out of the backfield receiving the ball. They're as they're getting better and, as I see them getting stronger and bigger, they're really going to be something the next couple of years in our backfield.
It was fascinating for me to watch going back to Battle the Beach for you guys when you guys beat Atlantic City, who got to the sectional final as well. So a high quality win earlier in the year against a really good football team. Lucas really that was kind of his breakout game, and then it was not a lull, but he didn't have as big of a role until maybe the second half of the season. But he showed what he could do as a sophomore back, first time on varsity back earlier this year. But Dylan was fascinating to me because he was a freshman, and so all you really had on him was his youth tape, his middle school tape, and basically all the accolades or the recommendation, or how he was described by his other coaches. So this is the first time you really got to work with him. What was it? Did you see this in Dylan Granzow, and that he was going to be maybe a big contributor this fast?
You never know till they get there. I went and saw him play when he was in the junior league, and he was a play. And the reason is they reached out to us because he was going to apply to come to Mainland on school choice. He's from Mays Landing, and he was arguably, from what I heard, through the rumor mill, was arguably one of the best players in the Land County Junior Football League. And I went and saw him play, and he stood out on both sides of the football. And we were fortunate that he applied to Mainland, and he was selected to come to Mainland in our lottery, which we've never had a football player get selected in all the years I've been at Mainland. All these kids that applied to come to Mainland from all these other towns, and this is the first one we ever had actually got selected in our lottery. And when he got there, you saw he had the potential. He had the speed and all. He's still a little undersized, a little light, but I'll tell you what, the potential for him to be something special is really there, because he has all those qualities. He's eager to learn. He's 100% maximum effort in everything he does. You can hear him running from across the field. He just grunts as he runs like an angry runner. Reminds me a lot, not to compare him at the same level. The last person I heard grunting as they ran by me was Isaiah Pacheco on a way to a 55-yard touchdown against us. And every footfall, you heard a grunt come out of him. And Dylan's just like that. Pacheco's up here, but Dylan is that, that kind of effort in everything he does. And, and he's gotten along well with the team. He's a high-quality kid, and we're just fortunate we're going to have him for a long time here at Mainland.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got 3 more years of him, and of course, at least 1, if not 2 more games this season. So before we switch over to Somerville, one more question, and then we'll go into some highlights from Friday night. This game almost felt extra special. It wasn't, it ended up not being a back-and-forth thriller. It was tight in the beginning, and you guys do what you do. You grind out these teams. You end up running away from your opponent. But the last 2 years, you had a tough game against Middletown North 2 years ago to win that sectional title on the road. Then last year, of course, a lot of emotion expended against Millville because they were your state semifinal opponent back in 2022. So that was big en route to last year's state championship. This one a little bit different because you guys got to play at home. You had one more game at the Corral, and based on the seedings, it did not work out that this week was going to be back in Mainland. But what did you make of finally hosting that trophy in front of the home fans? You didn't have to, as you mentioned before, you love playing at home. Didn't have to go far. Did a little parade around Northfield, Summers Point, and Linwood. What was that like for you guys on Friday night?
Yeah, it was really special. We hadn't had hosted a sectional championship at Mainland since 2008, and a long time in between. And like you said, we've been on the road the last couple of seasons to go and capture those victories. And it was nice to be at home. And I think it was really extra special for me. I've been to a lot of these sectional finals and been fortunate to win a number of them. But I think it was really special to me, for me, in that, we were home, able to do it in front of our home crowd, like you said. But also it was our brand new athletic director, Billy Kern, who just came on board. And he's one of our former players. I coached him way back when. And he was my right-hand man when I was the offensive coordinator under Bob Coffey. He was my right-hand assistant as an offensive coordinator when I came to Mainland as the head coach. He was my right-hand man to, kind of like your consigliere, with the Mafia. He was that guy on our football staff. Whenever something was going on, the coaches would go to him to come to me, kind of. So it was nice that his first championship as an athletic director was with the football team, and he's one of my special friends. So it had a little special meaning to it on Friday night. But all in all, it was really nice, and then to get the parade around the 3 towns, to show off what the kids had done. And gave them off on Saturday so they could rest and recuperate, because we've been dealing with a lot of illness the past couple of weeks. It just seems like every day I come out, someone else is under the weather, or sick, or going to miss a couple, or strep throat, or walking pneumonia, or whatever it might be. But it was nice to come together like that. And then I'll tell you what, when we came into school yesterday, man, everybody was recharged and focused on what we have to do this week.
You love to see that. So let's dive into some highlights from Friday night. This first one right here, this put you guys ahead 14-7. John Franchino, again, we mentioned Granzow before, just got absolutely wide open down the right sideline.
Yeah, we saw Seneca was really selling out to try to stop the run game on us. And, Johnny does such a good job with the play action passing in our offense. He's done that the last couple of years. And Dylan just snuck by. The safety came up to jump the tight end, and Dylan Granzow got behind him, and Johnny hit him in stride for that score to put us up in the game. We never looked back from that.
So we'll move ahead. This is in the second quarter. Seneca is driving right here, and this was picked off once again. We talk about Khalib Foster all the time, who had 2 pick sixes the other week. He got another one here.
Yeah, this was huge actually because, as you said, there's under 3 minutes left in the half. Seneca's driving down the field. They score. It's a 1-score ball game all of a sudden. And I think the big thing of this is Khalib makes a great play coming back to the football, a little bit underthrown. He has it, and we get tackled on the 2-yard line. And what we were able to do was flip the field then and put points on the board. So it was a big momentum shifter, a big change in the game. I think that really, in my opinion, took the wind out of their sails right there because, they're a good football team and they're battling. And if they would have scored right there, who knows what could have happened? We might have won in there at halftime, down, up by a score, and you're in a fight now. And that interception right there by Khalib, and us being able to turn that into a 98-yard scoring drive right before half was, I think, really a backbreaker.
You mentioned that next drive right after Khalib's interception. It was capped off with this touchdown right here. Franchini finds Lucas DiBiase, who we talked about before as well.
Yeah, we had Rocco had a big run to get us out from having our backs against the wall there. Then Johnny, right before this play, hit Jake Blum for like 40-something yards down to there. And then we went right to another play-action pass. And John found Lucas in the back of the end zone. Lucas had 3 TDs that night, 2 running, and that catch right there, an outstanding catch to just concentrate on getting the ball and staying in bounds, but a pinpoint pass by our quarterback too.
Yeah, he was able to just basically slide that right knee and make sure he stayed inbound. So last highlight right here, and I just wanted to give Granzow his flowers, and Johnny puts a nice throw here to the sideline where only he can catch it, and just the over-the-shoulder catch. I was almost beside myself near the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, that was an outstanding catch, and really Johnny looked down the middle. It was covered. He kind of looked back and just we always say safe outside. He took a big hit on that play, and somehow Dylan just was able to make that catch. I don't know how. And catch it in bounds. And I think we were on the score on that drive also.
Right. I think that put you guys up 35-7 towards the end of the third quarter. Of course, you guys cruise on to win that one 42-14. South Jersey Group 3 champions. So, Coach, we'll move on now. Look ahead to Somerville. The Pioneers are 12-0 Central Jersey Group 3 champions. Matt Bloom does a heck of a job with that program. Now, again, this is one of these teams where we mentioned in these brackets where they're not always exactly geographically aligned, but now that we're out of the sectionals, now you're into the state bracket, you're going to see these teams that are much further up north, and they're not even the furthest north team that you can see in this bracket. But Somerville, having one heck of a year, pretty much blowing out much of their opponents, similar to what you guys did last year. A lot of big boys. What were your first impressions seeing what Somerville can do on tape?
They're a great football team this season. I think they've given up 3 scores one time. That was the first game of the season. I think they've only given up 2 touchdowns in 2 games, one of them being, I think, 2 weeks ago against Ocean City. And, they've won. They're a well-rounded football team in every aspect. And as we expect when you see somebody who's 12-0 coming in. And I think they've played 7 of their opponents were playoff teams. They played a very competitive schedule. There's not a lot of easy opponents on their schedule when I was researching all the teams that they played. And they're good. The quarterback is very good, very accurate passer, does a great job running the offense, no huddle attack, up-tempo type of attack. They also jump into a wildcat where they bring in their one wide receiver who I believe has an offer to go to Old Dominion. He's a tremendous athlete there, and they switch it up there. And then, of course, they have the running back who is probably the best running back we've seen to this date this season. He's a very patient runner, has great vision, is able to see little creases inside. He's a tough kid because he's only like 5'8", 5'9", 190, and he's got a little burst to him also. So he's tough. He makes that offense really difficult because when you can have that type of run in the spread offense and you have a quarterback who can pull the trigger like they do, it makes it very difficult to defend. They do a lot of things. They don't do a ton of things, but they do a lot of things within their system very, very well. And their line does a great job getting off the ball. I would say they're not the biggest team we faced this year size-wise, but they're very quick. They get off the football on both sides of the ball. Their defense, I'm looking at them and, tribute to them. We know how Delsey is. Delsey's a big, smash mouth, pound it down, big kids up front. And they did a great job shutting them down. They gave up a score on Delsey's first possession. Delsey took like a year to score, like they always do. And after that, they shut them right down. Did a great job shutting down their run game and putting Delsey into an uncomfortable spot where they have to try to come from behind, throw the football, which isn't in their wheelhouse really. But they're very fast, going to the football, well coached. They do a lot of little things well. They're good. That's why they're 12-0.
Yeah, you mentioned the running back. That's Terrell Mitchell, over 1,300 yards this year, 18 touchdowns on the ground. So he's going to be a problem for pretty much anybody that he plays. And Brandon Pacheco, the quarterback, 24 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions this year, over or nearly 1,600 yards this season as well. It's interesting was that you mentioned how they're not the biggest team that you face, but they do everything. They pretty much everything that they do it really well. And again, a testament as to their record is at 12-0. When you look at their defense and basically how your offense operates, and I feel like I ask you the same question every week, but you guys are just going to do what you're going to do, which is pound the football. Of course, mix in the play action as well. Does their defense give you different looks compared to maybe other teams that you've seen so far?
They're fast. They're not big. They're just very fast. They're very quick off the football. They do a little bit of shifting with the linemen, up front. They call out some kind of call, and they all shift the 3 interior guys. But they're just quick to the ball. They're aggressive, and I think that's it's a testament because last year we were fortunate to have a great defense too, and our defense this year is really coming into its own at this point in the season. But when you can post those kinds of numbers of not giving up a lot of points during the season, that says something about your defense, And I know we pride ourselves on the quickness of our defense and our pursuit to the football. And these guys are right there, just like us, when you get to this point in the season, and you're playing in the state semifinals, you're going to see the best teams, Somerville's having one heck of a year, and they are a very good football team.
They have 3 shutouts on the year, including the first-round playoff game against Appliance, a team that you know very well. I'm curious because their playoff opponents were actually very familiar to you and your program. They beat Appliance in the first round. They took down your rival, Ocean City, by 2 scores the other week. And then, of course, Delsey, who you guys beat in overtime to end the regular season, had their own fits with them last week, but then eventually were able to shut down their offense and control the clock, win that one 24-6. When you see a team like that play 3 similar teams that you've already faced or teams that does it make it easier to try to find things on film in preparation for this game?
It gives you a different insight to it, maybe, because obviously we know Ocean City very well. We know Delsey. We just played them a few weeks ago, and very kind of a similar type of offense like we have. They're similar in setups, but different in our philosophies of how we run it. But it kind of gives you a look because you know who the kids are and what they're like and the speed of the team. Some of these other teams, you don't really know the ins and outs of those teams or the size up front or the type of players they have, the quality players that they have or don't have. So it kind of gives you a different insight with it. And I'll tell you, they've been impressive in this postseason run, even with Ocean City. Ocean City, unfortunately, had a couple big miscues in the first half with snaps and a snap over the punter's head and a big sack and some things like that really put them in a hole right away. And Somerville's too good of a team that if you get into a deficit, it's really hard to climb out of that. It's hard to do that with any opponent, let alone a great team like Somerville. But it kind of gives you a different insight into it, and that can be a scary thing too, because these teams, what they can do or not do. And then you kind of look at yourself and how you played against those teams. And, but everybody matches up differently,
Without a doubt. They're coming off a 5-5 season where they made it to the first round of the playoffs, lost by a point. So to say that they've come back with a vengeance is pretty much an understatement right now. So when you talk about this state semifinal game, very similar to last year, you guys went on the road. You went to Winslow, handled business, and, of course, went on to win the state championship. Now they have to go back on the road, bit of a longer trip this time. I believe this might be the longest trip you've taken all year, maybe perhaps the last 2 or 3 years. This is the longest trip that you've taken. Are you guys taking any special preparation, doing anything a little bit different this week in preparation for that longer road trip on Friday?
Nah, we're just going to get out of school a little bit early so we can prep up and make that travel up there. I want the kids to be as comfortable as possible. traveling up there, not worry about being all dressed up and taped up and all that stuff, because that's a long bus ride. And then you still have to wait on your pregame, to be all taped up like that. So we're going to get up there a little bit earlier than normal, and then have our trainer and get the kids dressed up there, and then go ahead and get into the game. Looks like it's finally turned into football weather by the time Friday night comes around too. Because I just saw, I've been looking at the weather as the week progresses. You just tend to look at what Thursday, Friday, Saturday are going to be like. And, it looks like the weather's going to start dropping, maybe some chance of rain. I think up there, they might even have a chance of a little snow on Thursday night, in the Friday morning. So it's just that time of the year, it's weird that you're now into the fourth week of the playoffs. And in the old days, when you got to this point, it was December. It was usually freezing cold out by then. When you played your Thanksgiving days way back, it was always really cold. And now it finally feels like it's football weather now. We've been fortunate to have such great weather this whole season, and the lack of rain or having to practice out in the rain, bad for everything else, but practice-wise, it's been good. But it looks like this week, we're going to finally get some cold temperatures and have a brisk fall night to play some playoff football.
I'm interested to see how those kids respond on both sides, both sidelines, you guys and Somerville. Coach, I'll leave you here with this one again. 7 p.m. kickoff on Friday night at Somerville for the Group 3 State Semifinals here in New Jersey. When you look at the mood of your team and the messaging from your staff and vice versa, again, a lot of these guys have been here already, and we've kind of already talked about this already, because of the playoff success in 2022, getting to this point, and then last year going a little bit further and actually winning it all. I got to imagine maybe seniors like Rocco DiBiaso or an experienced kid like John Franchini, or you look at your other guys, TJ McBall, Ethan Schock, all these guys that have been there, Andrew Gilman for one. They've been in this spot before. They've had big roles carved out either last year or the last 2 years trying to get this state championship. Is it business as usual for you guys? Is there anything a little bit different? Or are guys just like, oh my God, we're actually in the state semifinals? Or is it pretty much, we've been here before, we know how to take care of business?
Yeah, I would say the first year it was kind of new, and we pulled off that big win against Middletown South, and everybody was like, oh my gosh. And, for me, it was kind of weird then, because that's as far as you ever went before,
Right.
So it was kind of like you were celebrating like you just won the Super Bowl. But at the same time, all of a sudden you had a game now the week later, and maybe that played into that result maybe a little bit. Then last year, we're really focused because, having lost a close game that we really outplayed the opponent. And it's nothing against Millville. They made the plays when they had to in that game, but we kind of gave that game away 4 different times. It left a bad taste in our mouth, and we really wanted to get back there. And that kind of fueled all of last year. And then all of a sudden you get to the top. What's left to do? And, we have a lot of new players this year stepping into bigger roles. Some kids might have gotten on the field last year and played here and there, but their role wasn't as significant as it is this year, a lot of those kids. And but we have a standard now. This is what we want to do every year. Whether or not we're able to do it, we'll see. But that's the standard of what we want to accomplish, where we want to be with our football program. And we're fortunate to be in that situation again this season. And, I think with the kids, we're really shooting for that championship, and the kids were very excited and really amped up all week. And they've been really good this entire postseason, really being focused and determined. And I think now that they know they're a step away from possibly being in another state championship, that hunger is right there, really getting at them. And you can see they're really focused in practice, maybe a little bit more determined this week than they were in the previous weeks. And that's not like the slouch on them at all. But I think now that they know what it's like to have that ultimate prize, and it's almost within grabbing distance now, they know what they have to do and work a little bit harder. And they know that the opponent we're playing this week is a formidable opponent. It's not going to be easy. There's no slouch right there. There's no whatever. It's very similar to last year when we had to go up into Winslow and play those guys on their turf, being a lower seed than they are. So the kids aren't looking past these guys. They're very focused, and they're excited too for the opportunity to have a chance to beat somebody and have another shot at a state title.
Got to imagine Somerville came into the season with state championship aspirations, saw you guys drop from Group 4 to Group 3, and said, "Okay, we might have to go through them." But I know you guys are going. I know you guys are going to Somerville, but I think they might get up a little bit more considering you guys are a defending state champion. So, Coach, good luck on Friday. I will be up there, so we'll plug our broadcast that I'll be a part of on Central Jersey Sports Radio with my guy Mike Pavlichko. So that's cjsportsradio.com for Mainland and Somerville coverage at 7 o'clock. And looking forward to this one. It'll be a really good one. Two of the best teams in the state within Group 3. So we'll see you up there. Maybe a little bit of snow on Friday night.
Yeah, it sounds good, Nick. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we're doing this again next week.
Without a doubt, we'll recap everything next week on the Chuck Smith Show, which you can find on our YouTube channel on Cape Atlantic Live. Again, this is the Chuck Smith Show presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service on Cape Atlantic Live. We'll talk to you next week.